Hey everybody, Chris Eggleston here with GravityRanger.com, and in today's brief tutorial, I'm going to be going over another common issue, a configuration issue primarily, that people run into when trying to set up custom confirmations. Okay, so let's just dive into it and I'll explain the situation as we go through it. So I'm going to just pick a form and go to confirmations. It doesn't matter, it's the same across all forms. Now, it's important that you understand how confirmations work. Okay, so when you create a form, Gravity Forms automatically creates this default confirmation. It is the same every time you create a form. It's called default confirmation. It's a text type and has the same exact message every time. Now, if you were just wanting to have one confirmation message, then you could easily edit this default confirmation and you wouldn't need to add others. But in the case that, let's say, you're selling 5 different products, digital products, in your form, and each digital product needs to have a separate confirmation so that you can deliver the downloadable or the access to those individual products, right? Because each one's going to be different. So each one's going to have a different access point, whether it's a link you're providing them or something like that, okay? So you'll need a unique confirmation for each one of those. So then what you would do is you would go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and add a new confirmation. I'm going to call this product one. And then I'm going to just keep it a text. You could use one of these other options like a page type or redirect. Basically, the page type confirmation will redirect somebody to a page on your site. The redirect option will allow you to redirect them to any URL. Okay, so I'm going to call this, I'm just going to put something here. Okay, now this is the part that everybody skips. You'll notice that confirmation is automatically enabled, and that's because in order for this to work, in order for the custom confirmations to actually trigger, you have to enable conditional logic. Otherwise, the default confirmation will trigger every time. So there's no checkbox here like there is on almost every other Gravity Forms um, feed or thing. It's just automatically enabled when you create a new confirmation, and I think that's where some people get confused. They don't realize that it needs to be configured because it's already there, and they think it's something that's done. Okay, so again, this is going to be something unique. So what you would do is select one of the fields. And again, if you were selling products, then you would be, basing this on whatever the person purchases. I didn't set up the form for that, so I'm just showing you generically. Okay, so in this case, let's say that this confirmation is going to trigger if the subject contains help. Okay, so if the user submits the form with the subject and it has the word help in it, then it's going to trigger this specific confirmation, product one. Okay, so now if I save that and we go back to confirmations, we'll see we have two. The default one, which can't be deleted, it can't be inactivated because, again, Gravity Forms has to process a confirmation every time a form is submitted. So then what we would do is we could just simply duplicate this one because, again, you're going to be setting these up for something very specific, and the initial example I gave you was if you're selling 5 different digital products. So you could just duplicate it and then change the text how you need. In this case, that's what I'm going to do just for demonstration purposes. Now you'll see this note here. It does tell you that you need to configure conditional logic in order for this to work. Okay. Now people obviously just ignore it. So I'm going to go through and make these changes. Subject, again, you would be selecting something based on what you needed. I'm just using subject because this is the form I picked. Contains um, um, gravity. Okay, and we'll save that. and we'll go back to confirmations, and I'll just do one more. And we'll say subject contains forms. Okay, so now I've got my 3 confirmations set up here. So again, if conditional logic doesn't match any of these things, then the default confirmation is going to be triggered. So let's just take a look real quick and I'll show you. So if I fill this out, okay, we'll see my subject doesn't contain any of my conditional logics, so settings, so we just get the default message. Okay, if we do it again, and this time we put the word gravity in the subject, we should get product 2. Here is access to product 2. So that was the product 2 confirmation. So if you're going to use multiple confirmations, you have to enable conditional logic. This is a requirement. It absolutely has to be enabled in order for it to work. So I want to just make one quick note here. Oops, sorry. You'll notice that by default, as I said, conditional logic is enabled, and by default, it's enabled so that the first name is blank. Okay, and in most cases, your form is going to require the name field to be populated. So this will never process this confirmation, because every time you're going to have a name in the name field, so this will never be blank or empty, no value. Okay, so very important. Again, it may seem simple for some of you, and some of you may think, well, this is a no-brainer. I know that, but I see people mentioning this in forums, in our chat at gravitanger.com, an email saying, I can't get my confirmations to trigger, or my redirect confirmation isn't working. Okay. In almost every situation, it is because they did not properly configure the confirmation conditional logic. All right. Hopefully, this is helpful. Hopefully, you won't forget next time. If you know somebody who has this problem, please share this with them so that they can get through it. But until next time, be safe, have fun, and build something awesome.